Hey guys, this is Frozen Dig Stews here, and welcome back to another video. And today, I am once again going to be reviewing another movie franchise leading up to a new movie that is coming out. And this time around, we're going to be tackling one of the most beloved action franchises in recent years, Mission Impossible. With Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning coming part 1 coming out very soon, since it is my most anticipated movie of the month and one of my most anticipated movies of the year, time for me to do a review on the previous Mission Impossible movies leading up to it. Starting with the first one. So Mission Impossible is the first installment in a long-running franchise. Came out in the year 1996, the same year as Scream and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and also Space Jam, and is directed by Brian De Palma, who directed Scarface, and stars Tom Cruise, John Voight, Emmanuel Beard, Henry Cerny, Ving Rhames, Jean Reno, Kristen Scott Thomas, etc. And so basically, the plot for Mission Impossible tells the story of this IMF team who must take down an enemy in Prague. I believe it's Prague. Prague. But then during the mission, the entire team gets killed off. And the only member of the team standing is Ethan Hunt, so the main guy, and Ethan is framed for betraying his own team and killing them. In order to clear his name, Ethan finds out Ethan must recruit a new team of IMF agents, including one who is going to be in all the other Mission Impossible films, Luther, and the other guy I forgot who his name was. And together they must be able to track down the mole after Ethan Hunt learns that Ethan Hunt learns that there was a mole in the IMF who betrayed everyone and it wasn't him. Mission Impossible, man. I absolutely love this franchise. In fact, this is actually my dad's favorite franchise of all time, and I can totally see why. To me personally, I wouldn't go as far as calling this the best franchise ever. I am still more of a Bond fan than I'm still more of a Bond fan than a Mission Impossible fan, but I still absolutely love Mission Impossible. These movies, and especially with the modern era where it just keeps getting better and better and better from there. But now we're actually living in we're starting off with the time when Mission Impossible wasn't really that well beloved. And there are like some things I didn't know about this film, like it was actually based on a TV show, which I don't know anything about the Mission Impossible TV show is based on, and it was at a time when these movies weren't really well received. It kind of started with Ghost Protocol when this franchise started getting all the rave it gets. But yeah, Mission Impossible is a movie that that got pretty okay reviews. People were saying it's just good, but not one of their favorite in the franchise. And this movie came out at the time when Tom Cruise was just a fine actor. To me personally, I actually prefer modern Tom Cruise way more than this Tom Cruise than back in the 80s and 90s. Like most of the time he doesn't really do major action films. He doesn't really do the big major action films like back then. He used to just he mostly does. He's mostly known for comedy movies and especially with rom-coms. Like his most popular film back then was Jerry Maguire, which was a pretty decent film but a bit overrated in my opinion. But yeah, with Mission Impossible, yeah, it wasn't really beloved at that time, and it came out into a pretty so-so year. A year where not many outstanding movies came out. Like some decent action flicks like Independence Day came out, The Guilty Pleasure, Space Jam, Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is a top tier Disney Renaissance. In fact, yeah, the only two masterpieces that came out that year was um, Hunchback of Notre Dame and my favorite movie of 1996. I think we can all agree that this one's the best movie of its respective year. Scream. Yep, Scream my favorite horror franchise. Period. And I actually prefer Scream as a franchise over Mission Impossible in my opinion. But yeah, okay. But yeah, enough of the intro. Now let's get into my personal thoughts on Mission Impossible. Um, it's good actually. For a start, for the first installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, I actually think this movie is pretty good, and I actually kind of do enjoy this movie. I liked it. However, it's certainly not up to par with the rest of the franchise, especially the later ones. It's nowhere near level, and I would say, yeah, this movie, and this is actually one of the weaker films from the franchise. Personally, I think we can all agree it's not the weakest. That goes to the second movie, but Mission Impossible still doesn't hold a candle to what this franchise truly is. And this is the most different Mission Impossible movie. That's probably like the one thing I can say this movie has it against the other Mission Impossible films. It's the most different out of all of them. Like it has a different set of characters. It has a different set of characters. And you know a different tone to it. And this movie like unlike the rest of the franchise, this one doesn't really have a lot of action scenes. And that's like the only Mission Impossible movie to not surpass 2 hours and to have a runtime of under 2 hours. So it's certainly the shortest one. But this unlike the other Mission Impossible films, specifically to present, isn't really a movie that I'm emotionally invested in, and no, not emotionally. I mean, this franchise is not meant to be emotional. I meant to say this isn't really a movie I would personally see myself attached to, or I would like rewatch ever again. But first, I'm gonna get the really good things about it. This movie is flawed, but there's some really good things about it too. I would say the story is actually really good. It's one of the better. It has one of the better stories in the series, and it's probably it feels like the most different. Most of the other Mission Impossible movies is just basically taking on this spice. Sorry if you heard that noise, but yeah, like something weird just played on my phone, but while recording. But anyway, back to topic. The story is actually very clever. Yeah, sure, it's a very complex story, but I think that's one thing I really like. That's what I like about the story. It's very complex. Is it confusing? Sure. Are there any plot holes? Yes, there are quite some plot holes, but I really dig the story. Like the other films in the franchise are mostly just spy stories that likes to put action above it, but it it's not a criticism. Don't get me wrong, but this is the most plot driven in the franchise, and the story is well for the most part really good. And yeah, it's very complex. It's smart. It's thought provoking. And it really keeps you guessing on who's the villain, and you wouldn't really find out that the villain is actually the mentor, which I'll talk about that later on in the review. Um, I'll talk more about that in the review. And what else is there to say? Yeah, and yeah, the villain. Oh yeah, let's talk about the villain. Like the villain is one of the strong points in the franchise. The villain. Um, okay. Yeah, the villain is certainly one of the strong points in the franchise. As you know, he's actually a top tier he's actually a top tier villain. Jim Phelps is so yeah. The villain is actually Jim Phelps, who is the mentor of the Ethan Hunt and the quote unquote leader of the IMF, who is actually working with the target that in the beginning mission. And I will say he is actually one of the better villains in the franchise. In fact, I will say that he's actually my second favorite villain in the franchise, second only behind yeah, second only to August Walker in Fallout. Yeah, and yeah, I know Mission Impossible. This franchise doesn't really have the best villains. Oh wait, actually, I'll admit. Oh wait, yeah, third favorite. There's also both August and Sabine, Lea Seydoux character in Ghost Protocol. They're both my two favorite villains in the franchise. But yes, Jim is definitely one of the best villains in the franchise. Yeah, he's actually one of the more memorable villains, especially when this franchise had some good villains, but they would usually be the weakest linked in their respective films. He's the weakest villain in their respective films. What else is there? Oh yeah, and also let's definitely talk about Tom Cruise in this movie. Tom Cruise is yeah, Tom Cruise was great in this movie. Yeah, Tom Cruise was really good in this movie. Is it one of his best performances? No, no, it's not one of his. It's not one of his best performances. And plus, I do think his best performance is Maverick in Top Gun Maverick. But I mean, he's Tom Cruise. He has such great. I mean, he's a really good actor, and that's pretty much all I gotta say. And Ethan Hunt is certainly the best character in the franchise, alongside White Widow in Fallout, and hopefully she can still continue. White Widow can still continue to be one of my favorite characters. Um, and possibly Dead Reckoning. Yeah, both Ethan and White Widow are my two favorite Mission Impossible characters. But to me personally, Ethan Hunt actually villain. Isn't really the villain in the franchise. No, wait, no. Ethan Hunt. Wait, no, my bad. Ethan Hunt actually isn't really the best character in in this movie in particular. My personal favorite character in the movie would have to be Claire Phelps. Yep, Claire is my personal favorite character in the film, and she is one of my Mission Impossible crushes. Um, she is one of my favorite characters in this franchise. One of my favorite female characters. I would say that I even like her better than Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust. Yeah, sure. I still prefer White Widow and the Ghost Protocol girl, Sabine over her, but Claire is yeah, definitely in my top 10. Claire, I would actually put her in my top five favorite Mission Impossible characters, and she's my favorite of Ethan Hunt's love interest. Sorry, well, who's that? Julia and Ilsa. Yeah, but Claire is my favorite. And yeah, she's definitely she definitely is the standout in this first movie. And I really like the camera too. I mean, the camera work is really good. I mean, from the same director from the same director as Scarface. I actually think the directing and the cinematography are the standouts here. I mean, Brian De Palma is just continues to show how much of an amazing director he is, especially when he directed the masterpiece that is Scarface. Some of the shots are really good, like specifically this angle, the shot. Specifically this angle, shot in this unique angle, like in this side angle thingy when Tom Cruise is like talking to Kid Rich. And by the way, Kid Rich is actually going to be returning in Dead Reckoning, and I heard that Dead Reckoning is going to has a lot of callbacks to this one. So this is the most important installment in the franchise to watch in preparation for Dead Reckoning Part One. And there's some really like top-notch scenes too. Like the fan favorite is the one in the vault. I'm sure you know vault. But easily the best scene in the film is the final battle, the train scene. Uh, the final battle, such an epic final battle. But yeah, but of course there are some flaws I have with the film. Yeah, there's some issues I have. I feel like as much as it has a clever story, it has some of the best aspects of the film. Like it has a top tier villain in the franchise, and and this features the best love interest of Ethan Hunt. Unless he becomes White Widow, but I don't think she's a love interest. Um, like this movie is, I think the weak link of this movie is the entertainment value. There is I mean, as much as it does have as it is well written, the story in this movie. No, wait, no. As much as it has a good story, I feel like this movie is kind of boring. Honestly, yeah, I was so bored. I was kind of bored watching this. Like, and I understand that this is not an action-driven movie. This movie is completely different from the rest of the Mission Impossible movies, but I mean, I just couldn't help. But just feel kind of bored especially in the middle act. It was kind of draggy. It was so slow paced, and even like for a short runtime, it felt much longer than that. And also a lot of the characters are forgettable. The only memorable characters are Ethan, Claire, Jim, Luther, and Kittredge. But other than that, the other characters are forgettable. The other characters are kind of forgettable and just one note. Just one note. So yeah, I just feel kind of one note and just yeah. So yeah, I don't have much other flaws to say other than this movie is just has very poor pacing and it is boring. But I will still, but this movie is still really good for being like well made. For being just simply a well made movie. That is definitely far from my favorites, but actually it is still a really good movie. I just wish it was a little more enjoyable, and I wish there was far more action scenes, even though I kind of understand where this is coming from. So yeah, I'll probably be a little more forgiving this movie and give this a much higher rating since it is a really great start to the franchise. So yeah, overall, Mission Impossible, yeah, it's really good for the most part. So with that said, I'm gonna give Mission Impossible a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, this is definitely the second weakest in the franchise. I'm sure you probably know which is the weakest one. So yeah. So for my review of Mission Impossible, what is your opinion on this movie? Is this one of your favorite films in the franchise, or do you agree with me that it's pretty good but far from the best? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So yeah, bye guys.